Guys, let's have a talk. We have a huge problem. Look at the graph. Less than 5% of you are subscribed to my channel. It doesn't take much to make me happy. How about 1 in 5 of you subscribe right now?
My dogs defend my family and my friend. This was many years ago and I was never charged. The case was closed as a home invasion that was stopped with reasonable force. My dogs were not harmed or removed from me. My neighbor, let's call her Anne, was a nice lady, a single mom with 1 little boy. When she moved, she had some rat issues caused by the previous owner's hoarding, and since I am not bothered by rats, and had a ratter dog as well as my big boys and girls, I was able to help out a bit. She and my wife became great friends and her boy loved my mastiffs and the Great Dane I owned back then. Often when Anne was working, her lad would come and stay with my wife and I and the dogs after school and on weekends. About a year after Anne moved in, she told us she was sure she was being followed by a man who had approached her in a bar on one of her twice yearly nights out with her sister. She barely went out socializing. It was sheer bad luck she met this man at all and asked us to keep an eye out for his type and color car, and if we could get his number plate she could give it to the police. We, of course, promised to help, and carried on about that day. Late that night my Dane woke me whining, and led me to the side door. This opened onto a shared driveway with my neighbor. I opened it thinking he needed to go to the toilet in the garden, but as soon as I opened it I saw a man inside Anne's kitchen, and then heard her scream. I dashed over the drive and pushed open her kitchen door. He had first it, probably what woke my dogs, and shouted at him to stop. He went for me, realized pretty quickly I knew how to fight, and that he was losing. In the struggle he managed to get free, and took off down the road. We called the police and reported it, and gave statements when the police arrived. Anne and her boy stayed with us for the rest of the night. The next day she went to stay with relatives using another friend's car just in case he was hanging around. I scouted ahead a bit to make sure she could get away safely. That night I woke up to the sound of a man screaming in my house. I could have gone straight downstairs to see what was going on, but I waited till it stopped before investigating, since it sounded exactly like the man from the night to me, and I figured he needed some quality time with some real predators. He wasn't moving when I went into the living room, but the dogs were really happy with themselves. What the police and I worked out had happened was he quietly broke into my kitchen through the side door. My mastiffs and the Dane waited till he was deep in the house before they struck. He was ragdolled by the neck from behind by my Dane, and while this was happening the mastiffs tore his legs to shreds. The little ratter my wife owned got stuck in too from the blood all over him at the end of it. He had suffered multiple fatal wounds to his thighs, neck and face. The rapist intruder had a backpack on with knives, duct tape, gags and a small hand axe. DNA and had scratched him, and my and Anne's statements confirmed he was the same man who had tried to rape my neighbor. He had no idea I had large dogs, it seems. Or he was really ducking stupid? Who cares? Those dogs have all died of old age now, but I bred from the mastiffs and still have their pups and grandpups. The Dane made it to 12, which is ancient for one of them, and got a mastiff from me shortly after this event, and she still owns large dogs too. I recommend a large dog as a companion, and as something that will duck up any intruder for you. As Bill Burr says, it's like owning a gun you can pet.